What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Finding Yourself Again, where we focus on hope, healing, and recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse. Ultimate goal is to establish self-love, healthy relationships, and ultimately find yourself. My name's Dontre. I'm a survivor of toxic abuse from a narcissist/borderline. And if you find that these videos are helpful to you, I ask you subscribe, like, and share. I ain't gonna hold y'all up, so with that being said, let's get into today's video. Alright, y'all. So it's Sunday. I'm making videos every day of the week. Even if I don't get to drop them that same day, I still make sure that I get the work done, right? And hopefully that's motivation to you or whoever watches this video to make sure that you get the stuff done. Make sure at the end of the day what you said got done. So it's kind of warming up, so I'm gonna try to make this video kind of fast. Plus I got my neighbor out here. She's probably looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm sitting in the car. I like to record these videos in the car. Sometimes I'll do it inside, but I like to really do it more so in the car, kind of get out. But anyways, today's topic, right, is going to be about reclaiming your identity after abuse or codependency. And like, if you've been following my content or if you watched any of my other videos by now, you are more than likely aware that this channel is more towards healing from trauma, toxic abuse, narcissistic abuse, borderline abuse, personality disorder abuse, as well as like codependency. But what I've realized in healing and like going through this process, I actually realized that part of the responsibility like lies on me at a certain point, right? Because I'm an adult, and if you're watching this video, you're probably an adult if you're over 18. And regardless, it's our responsibility. Our health is our responsibility. It's not the doctors or the therapists or anybody else's responsibility to like take care of that for us, unless we're children, and that's gonna be the problem. That's like the root problem of codependency. So I'm gonna get into it and explain it. Everything I got my handy notes right here, so I'm gonna get into it. First, I'm gonna start off with the definition of identity. Right, so this refers to the qualities, beliefs, personality, looks, or expression that make a person or group what they are. It's the sense of self, encompassing how someone perceives themselves, how they're perceived by others, and the roles/affiliations they hold in the world. Identity is multifaceted, including aspects like personal beliefs, interests, social roles, for example, parent, friend, professional, group affiliations, and a sense of continuity and coherence over time. It's the answer to the fundamental question, who am I, right? So when I talk about identity, it ain't like the hardest thing in the world. Pretty much anybody understands what an identity is, but I like to go in deep, in detail, so we can understand everything, So next we're going to talk about is identity in relation to early childhood family dynamics and trauma/narcissistic abuse. It's kind of a mouthful right there, but we're getting through it. We're addressing everything here, So our earliest understanding of self begins and is shaped by our family dynamics. In healthy environments, children are mirrored accurately, their needs are met, and they develop a secure sense of self based on genuine love and acceptance. They are allowed to explore their own individuality and develop a unique identity. However, in dysfunctional families, especially those involving trauma or narcissistic abuse, the development of a healthy identity is often disrupted. And here are some of the ways this happens. So I broke down what it looks like in a healthy family dynamics. And while I go through this, you can take the time to think personally, like think back in your early upbringing, your childhood, your family dynamics, and you can see if you resonate with any of these or if you don't. But I would say that probably 8, 9 out of 10 of us that are come and watch this content, like we are people that have have these type of issues, codependency issues and problems from childhood, based on these traits. So I'm gonna go over some of the ways that this happens. First one is lack of accurate mirroring. So children may not be seen for who they truly are. Their emotions and experiences might be invalidated, dismissed, or even punished. This can lead to a distorted sense of self and difficulty trusting their own perceptions. Definitely something that I experienced growing up, definitely being invalidated a lot, dismissed, and punished at times. So yeah, I experienced that after the age of 10 and beyond, basically. um, Next is conditional love and approval. In narcissistic family systems, love and approval are often conditional based on the narcissistic parent or caregiver. This can lead to the child developing a false self, a persona created to gain approval and avoid rejection, burying their authentic self in the process. So it's like they're creating like a fake person in order to get approval, avoid rejection, and like meet their needs as a child, because they're not getting it naturally and the way that they're supposed to. So they create this fall. This is where the mask is created, literally. And if you want to know more about that, check out my video about the mask. And it's kind of crazy because it says that they're burying their authentic self when they do this. So you can only imagine how difficult it is to to unstick your face from that mask after you've created this out of needs, All right, y'all. So the next one is blurred boundaries. Trauma and narcissistic abuse can often involve a lack of healthy boundaries. Children may be enmeshed with caregivers, taking on their emotions and responsibilities, leaving little room to develop their own sense of self. Personally, I can't really think of anything like that myself, but no, I actually have. I did have a step parent that I ended up getting involved with substances, early. Well, when I was in my teens, I was like, I think 13, something like that, 13 to 16. No, I was like 16, and she had basically made it acceptable to start like drinking with me and smoking weed with me at the time and stuff like that, and it just led to further things, you know what I mean? So that is in a sense a blurred boundary, you know what I mean? And now that I think about it, I had another time when I was even younger than that of a blurred boundary. Not really going to go into detail with that one, but I'm sure you guys have similar experiences, to be honest, and you may have to really look back and think on that one. So the next one is going to be internalized criticism. This is constant criticism, devaluation, and blame, which can lead to the internalization of negative beliefs about oneself, hindering the development of self-esteem and positive self-identity. For me, I dealt with a lot of constant criticism, above the age of 10. you know, um, I dealt with a lot of criticism, which I would say would make me feel devalued, and just I did have a lot of negative beliefs, and I had a bad self-esteem, and it was just bad for me, like when I was when I was growing up. Now that I remember, now thinking back on everything, it makes sense. I've addressed all of this already, but like looking back, there's just so many different scenarios where I can resonate with this. um the next is going to be suppressed needs and emotions. So, in survival mode, children may be assigned specific roles such as the scapegoat, golden child, the lost child, etc. You may have heard some of these. And it's basically something that dictates how they are seen and treated, further limiting the exploration and development of their true identity. So, if you can imagine that, not very hard to imagine when one parent labels a specific child a certain way, and it's like it's kind of hard for that child to break into their own identity out of that, out of their created one. you know it's almost kind of like, look at it like this. Like, let's say you have a child that's more interested in like creative stuff like drawing, painting, and then you have like a parent that is like hyper focused on like sports related things. So you got the parent that's like signing the kid up for like sports things, when in reality the kid would probably prefer like art class or such, you know what I mean? And they're signing them up for like soccer and basketball and shit like that, and the kid's not even interested in that, you know what I mean? So you could kind of look at it like that. It's actually a really good example of that. Next one is going to be, so it looks like, yeah, it looks like that was it. So next I'm going to go over why this video and my experience. I've kind of already went over a little bit of my experiences. So I'm going to talk about this. This topic has been the most important to me. I think many of us come to this content to find answers, healing, community, support, stuff like that, right? What's interesting is that I don't think many people look internally or in their past. I think most people may put a little too much responsibility and blame towards the toxic person. And that is definitely understandable. But what really happened in the relationship was two codependent people that were attracted to each other, right? And they got together and started exhibiting toxic relationship qualities because of their toxic family dynamics or trauma. This is important to understand. That way you look within and figure out the best way to heal and start to change your lifestyle based on this new knowledge. And I put, healthy people don't choose to stay with unhealthy or troubled people, So that's something to think about right there. So at the end of the day, this video should cause you, what I intend on with this video is for you to look within and look in your past and your early childhood and your upbringing, your dynamics, and try to find out, where did you learn this behavior from? Where did you, where did you think it was okay to exhibit this type of behavior? Because it is a learned behavior, and it's, people use it for a reason because it works. But the problem is it causes, I would say, potentially way worse and more harmful issues, using this way of surviving and, living this way. All right, y'all. So next we're going to talk about some key points and unique information, right? So the lost self, we're going to talk about that. After trauma or narcissistic abuse, it's common to feel like you lost touch with your authentic self. The survival mechanisms developed during those experiences often foreshadow one's true desires, interests, and values. So once again, the survival mechanisms that you created during those experiences, they're overshadowing your true wants and interests and your values. So that's something to really think about. It's really burying that identity, you know what I mean? The next is the layers of the fake self. So the fake self is developed as a protective mechanism. We've talked about that. And it can be so ingrained that it feels like the real self. So it's like hard to even tell the difference between what's really you and what's your authentic self, because it's so ingrained. So reclaiming identity involves peeling back these layers to uncover the authentic person underneath. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Reclaiming identity is not a quick fix, but an ongoing process of self-discovery and integration, meaning you're using things that you're learning. Be patient and have self-compassion in this process, remember. Next is permission to change. So many survivors feel stuck in the roles they played in toxic environments, and that makes sense because they've grown up living like this and it's ingrained, right? Remember in life that it's okay to change, evolve, and define yourself on your own terms, even if it goes against old family narratives. You got to remember that a lot of your family may not want or be ready to change. They may want to live their life how they've been living it, and they don't want to change. That's okay if they want to live like that. But it's also okay for you to change, right? And have healthy relationships and trust yourself, and have self-love and stuff like that. The body holds clues. Trauma is stored in the body. Pay attention to your physical sensations and how you resonate with different activities, interests, people, as a way to reconnect with your authentic self. Check out the book called The Body Keeps the Score. It's a pretty interesting book. A lot of people know about it. I'm sure you've probably even heard about it. It's a really good book to look into. Experimentation and exploration. Reclaiming identity often involves trying new things, exploring different interests, and allowing yourself to evolve. It's a time for self-discovery and curiosity without judgment. So this is like an open book time where it's like really just, self-discover things about yourself. Try new foods. Maybe take a dancing class, take an art class, take some type of sport, that you're interested in. Get involved in a community of healthy people that are doing things that you are interested in. For me, I started recently getting into plants and tropical fruits, and now I'm looking into creating my own little tropical island farm, and I'm just having fun with it, and I'm really enjoying. And these are things that I realized that always kind of been interested in, but now that I have my identity back, I can I got the time to just really look into these things and do my research, it's just really fun and knowledgeable and creative, and I love it. So yeah, experimentation and exploration is a big piece of reclaiming identity, big piece of it. And also doing things alone, not always needing to have somebody right there, because codependence, a part of that is like always needing to have somebody there so you don't feel alone or vulnerable. You need to learn how to be okay being alone and feel comfortable out in public, right? The next is the importance of safe connections. Surround yourself with people who see and validate your true self. Healthy relationships can provide the mirroring and support that was lacking in the past. So that mirroring, that it's important, right? Because when you're in these family dynamics where they're unhealthy, it's an unhealthy mirroring, right? And in these healthy relationships, they can provide a healthy version of this mirroring where it validates your feelings and your true self. So keep that in mind. It's all about validation. It's all about healthy relationships, loving people, kind people, people that love you for who you are. They're not around you for your materials or for their benefit only, stuff like that. And it's very important to surround yourself around healthy individuals, because obviously you have already more than likely been surrounded by unhealthy individuals, which has contributed to why you have codependency or codependency issues. So the more healthy relationships that you surround yourself with, the more faster it's going to be to break out of that, and the more helpful it's going to be to break out of that old way of thinking, right? All right, y'all. So a couple more key points continued. Reparenting the inner child. It's a super important one. Often reclaiming identity involves giving yourself the love, validation, and support that you didn't get as a child. This can be gentle self-talk, meeting your own needs, and setting healthy boundaries to protect your inner child. I know that might sound kind of crazy, like with the gentle self-talk and stuff like that. Setting healthy boundaries and meeting your own needs, we can all do that. The gentle self-talk may sound kind of crazy, but trust me, it's something that you're going to want to do. And you don't got to talk to yourself like a baby or a child per se, but it's more so about talking to yourself in a compassionate and understanding, non-judgmental type of way. So if you can look at it like that, it's about having compassion and patience with yourself. And the next one is going to be finding your inner voice. Toxic abuse often silences the victim, and reclaiming identity involves finding your voice again, expressing your opinions, desires, and needs authentically. And you can do this in a way that doesn't cause harm or irritation or conflict with other people, other relationships in life, right? Obviously we're not all gonna have the same thoughts, opinions, views. I probably have different views or opinions on certain things than you do, right? We're all different humans, and that's okay. But the important thing is to be healthy with the differences that we have, right? um we should be able to be okay with having differences with one another, right? um but the important thing is to feel allowed to express your opinions, desires, and needs authentically. Don't ever feel like you need to hide those things. Now I'm not saying to go and just blurt out your opinions to cause irritation or harm to people. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, um to be authentic with your opinions and your true self. All right, so the last one is, it's about self-definition, not external validation. True identity comes from within. While external validation can be nice, the core sense of self should be rooted in your own beliefs and values. So, like it said, external validation, sure, it's nice, but it's about you. It's about your sense of self being rooted in your own beliefs and your own values. Um, so I hope that you guys got something from this video. That's it. I know that was like jam-packed with a lot of information. A lot of my videos are like that because I just want y'all to have as much information as you can. That's why a lot of these videos are going for 20-30 minutes. Typically they're not over 30 minutes though, so you can have the rest of y'all day back, but so that's it, man. I hope you guys are taking really good care of yourselves, practicing self-compassion, radical self-care, self-acceptance, radical acceptance, um exercising, eating nutritious foods, learning, feeding your mind, and working on your journey towards healing and self-discovery. My name's Dontre. You can follow me at my Instagram. I actually just created a new Instagram account. It's Dontre Royal underscore, DONTREROYAL underscore. I'm gonna start posting some pictures and some content related stuff on there, so you guys can hit me up on there. And drop some comments in the comments. I've been interested to see, like, how you guys are liking the content and what you guys want to see more of. Anything that you want to share. Um, Also, like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm putting in a lot of time and effort into these videos. I'm really passionate about these videos, and your subscription can help reach a further audience. So if you can help me out with that, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys. Have a great day. I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.